Hello, my dear friends. Now, this particular movie is one of the first, well, Twilight started this trend, but this is the second one to attempt to split one book into two. What am I referring to? Well, Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Now, you will notice that I will also pull out this book when it comes to Part 2, because it's pretty much split in two. But
because it's a very thick book.
Not that. I think there's a reason behind it, because most of this movie is actually more focused on the three heroes. And I should add, I probably haven't fully read this book. Even though I did buy it first run. Stupid enough, I haven't even got through it yet. Sad. I will also be referring to the tales of the Beatty Burp. Sorry if I butchered that. Because one of the stories that Hermione brings up is actually in this. And it is
The Tale of the Hallows?
The Tale of the Three Brothers, which is in this little collection of books that Joanne wrote as a charity piece, included one of the stories that brings up, and it's all about the Deathly Hallows. I will read this abstract because one of the things that is featured in this book is something called the Deathly Hallows, and this particular story will explain what they are. Pretty much Hermione or Emma reads it, but I'll read it myself. There was once three brothers who were traveling along a lonely, winding road at twilight.
Or midnight.
That would be my sister in the background.
Sorry.
The brothers reached a river too deep to wade through and too dangerous to swim across. However, these brothers were learned in the magical arts, and so they simply waved their wands and a bridge appeared across the treacherous waters. They were halfway across when they found their path blocked by a hooded figure, and Death spoke to them. He was angry that they had cheated him out of 3 new victims, for travellers often drowned in the river. But Death was cunning. He pretended to congratulate the 3 brothers upon their magic, and said that each of them had earned a prize for having been clever enough to evade him. So the oldest brother, who was a combative man, asked for one more powerful than any in existence, a wand that must always win jewels for its owner, a wand suitable for a wizard who had conquered death. So Death crossed to the eldest tree in the river, on the banks of the river, and fashioned a wand from a branch that hung there, and it was given to the eldest brother. Then the second brother, who was an annoying man, let's just say, decided he wanted to humiliate Death even still, and asked for the power to recall others from death. So Death picked up a stone from the riverbank and gave it to the second brother, and told him that this stone would have power to bring back the dead. And then Death asked the third and youngest brother what he would like. The youngest brother was the humblest, and also the wisest of the brothers, and he didn't trust Death. So he asked for something that would enable him to go forth from that place without being followed by death. And death, almost unwittingly, handed over his own cloak of invisibility. Then death stood aside and allowed the three brothers to continue on their way, and so they did. Talking about the wonders of the adventure they had had and admiring Death's gifts. In due course, the brothers separated and each for their own destination. The first brother travelled for a week or more, reached a distant village. He swore he sought out a fellow wizard from whom he had quarrelled with. Naturally, with the elder one as his weapon, he did not fail to win that duel that followed, leaving his enemy dead upon the floor. The eldest brother proceeded to an inn where he had boasted loudly of the powerful wand he had snatched from death himself, and how it would make him invincible. That very night, another wizard crept into the eldest brother as he laid, wine-soaked, upon his bed. The thief took the wand and, for good measure, slit his throat. And so Death took the first brother for his own. Meanwhile, the second brother journeyed to his own home, where he had lived alone. He had took out the stone that had the power to recall the dead, and turned it thrice in his hand. To his amazement and delight, the figure of a girl he had once hoped to marry before her untimely death appeared to him before him. Yet she was silent and cold, separating him as though by a veil. Though she had returned to the mortal world, she didn't truly belong there, and suffered. Finally, the second brother was driven mad by the hopeless longing, killed himself so he could truly join her. And so Death took the second brother as his own. But though Death searched for the third brother for many years, he was not able to find him. It was only when he attained a great age that the youngest brother took off the cloak of invisibility and gave it to his own son. And he was greeted Death like an old friend, and went with him gladly as equals. They departed in this life. Now, why did I bring that up? Because that particular story links in with the Deathly Hallows. Now, Deathly Hallows is the Elder Wand, where we know that Dumbledore had the Elder Wand. We also have met in Cloak of Invisibility in Year 1, or the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, we aren't really sure at this stage where the third in this piece is. We do know at the end of this movie, Tom Riddle has the Elder Wand. Spoiler alert, but that does link in with the next part of this book. This is pretty much Harry, Ron, and Hermione looking for the Horcruxes. Now, we have already met a lot of the Horcruxes already. We met the diary and a couple of others, and by the end of this movie, they've got 3 more of those bad boys to deal with. This is pretty much a road trip. You could say it is a road trip, trying to find these devices that can kill Voldemort. I can definitely see why they split it from the other half, because this is not so focused on the school, which was where most of the other focuses were. That's what I can say about that. And these guys are pretty much on the run from pretty much everyone, especially the guys that are in with the Dark Order. So the Ministry is after them, who has been corrupted by Voldemort's people. You have Voldemort's people who are after them. So it's pretty much, and they do have a little bit of disagreement among them. So, and in the will, which is why I brought up this particular book, there was a couple of things that were left to our three heroes. Hermione got Dumbledore's copy of this story. Ronald got the Clicker-Outer. That's the best way I can describe it. If you remember back in Philosopher's Stone, that's the device that Dumbledore used to shut off all the lights when we first met him. That device. And to Harry, he left the Golden Snitch, but also he wielded the Sword of Gryffindor. Now, if you remember from the Chamber of Secrets, that was the sword that Harry used to defeat the Bacillus. And we see a couple of returning characters. We see good old Dobby. This is another one that pretty much got me the cry fest. This is so well done. We also, in this movie, we finally meet Bill Weasley. Now, if you remember, we constantly hear of a Bill Weasley. We finally get to meet him in the flesh. Now, that particular actor is played by Mad-Eye Moody's actual son. Yes. You were currently, if you know him, he was actually in Gleason. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Brendan Gleeson, who is Michael Gleason, who which we've met a couple of times. Brendan Gleeson's his dad, but Brendan's son, who you would currently, if you've been keeping an eye out, he was actually in Peter Rabbit and also Goodbye Christopher Robin. So he's had a bit of a career in spite of his dad's massive success, you could say. And then we meet a couple of other great actors as well. We see a little bit more of the Malfoys in their home. We do see a little bit of the connections that the Malfoys have. So, I thoroughly do enjoy this. I can see why it was split, to tell you the dead truth. This was one of the rare ones that actually was able to get the second half of this book. When I'm saying that, I am referring to the Divergent series, which never got to see the second part. I think that was a mistake to split Divergent. This one definitely was one of the rare ones that was able to be split very well. Do you agree that this book should have been split or made into one movie? Please write down in the comment section below. The next movie will be part 2, so you will be seeing this book again. And please keep watching movies. Please subscribe and let me know what movies you would like me to see. Please write them also down in the comment section below, and I shall see you very, very soon. Ciao.